Lou is going for the burn, going for the
Lou with burn.
the damage. There's been a lot of this going around. Vexing Devil has been showing up a lot, and Lou's running the full 4 of them. 4 Keldon Marauders, 4 Goblin Guide, 2 Hellsparks, so he's got some creatures to kind of get some early damage, but also have a little bit of staying power. And then he follows up with Lightning Bolts, Fire Blast, Chain Lightning, Price of Progress, Flame Rift, Sulfuric Vortex, main deck, which is nice to see. And then Lava Spikes, basically just going for the highest amount of damage per mana spent that he can do.
Sulfuric Vortex says, take that, Gristlebrand. Okay, we see a Careful Study. It looks like that's a Sphinx of the Steel Wind.
And an Exhume in the graveyard.
This game could be quickly over if Lou doesn't do something exciting. Goblin Guide. In for 2. Goblin Guide says, hey, Careful Study over here.
Now, Vexing Devil is an interesting card in this deck because if you play it early, no one really wants to take 4, but as a 4/3 for 1,
ooh.
And there's Reanimate from Reid.
That is a lifelinker. Reanimate does deal a ton of damage to Reid, but lifelink is pretty rough.
Yep, Reid dropping to 10 against Burn. Now the lifelink is very important.
Get ahead of the crowd. You can come up to main event stage and talk to either Callie.
But let's see what Lou is able to do here. He's got to figure out how to start getting those that extra damage in. If he does have a Sulfuric Vortex, he's just going to have to handle one
burst of life gain. Yeah, that would be 6 life.
Yep.
Vexing Devil, pay 4?
Yep.
Now, interestingly, if Reid pays 4, it is possible that Lou could just kill him.
Yep.
Bolt plus
followed by Fire Blast. And I see a Fire Blast in there. So he's got 4 damage that he can throw around. In fact, he has the Bolt and Fire Blast.
One of the problems with Vexing Devil is what we're seeing here. Reid doesn't mind so much, so he says, sure, it's in play.
Yep.
6 life for Reid here from that Sphinx, and Lou drops to 14. We might see a Thoughtseize here. Yep. Pay 2 to prevent some damage. See a Bolt to Reid's face. And 16 drops to 13. And then stuff I can't quite see.
Off to the side. There's Keldon Marauders, a Flame Rift. I was seeing that as the Fire Blast I thought that he had. So Keldon
another
Marauders,
Goblin
Flame
Guide.
Rift. Yep, another Goblin Guide, and then
I can't quite catch what that last red card was. Goodbye Flame Rift. That's 4 damage to all players or cycle. So Reid Duke now at 11 life after that Bolt plus the Thoughtseize 2 life.
Lou takes a look, picks it up. He does have 2 Thunderous Wrath in this, so he's looking at that top card to see whether or not he wants to Miracle out. Tapping 2, there's the Keldon Marauders, which will get 1 for
days from Reid Duke.
Wow.
Reid Duke not messing around. He can recognize how much damage it's possible that Lou can put at him.
And that Sphinx of the Steel Wind, protection from red and green, as if it needed it, being a 6/6 first strike lifelinker.
It needed it.
Reid will draw 2, and then we'll see 2 more cards hit his bin. So Reanimate and an Underground Sea, probably the one that he returned. You'll note that he played an Island rather than his Underground Sea, so he's playing around Price of Progress, which Lou is running the full complement of 4 Price of Progress. Lou down to 8 now, and he's running down on time. Chain Lightning at Reid. And Burn has a tough time dealing 32 damage.
Another Goblin Guide. Can't even attack. An attack would only do
4.
-2 damage, because Reid would gain 2 life for the attack.
Nothing effective here.
And Brainstorm from Reid Duke.
At this point, Reid is just making sure that he's locking up and keeping himself out of any shenanigans that Lou might pull off.
Another attack. Lou, no outs here at this point.
Yep.
It also had a faded black banana symbol on it.
All right, so 3 for...
Again, if you
There's
found
a sulfuric
why
vortex, which...
show it? Why show it? There's no way to win. Don't show the card.
And Reid will double check on what that does before taking the turn and
Here's
ending the game. Now, that does stop the life gain.
It doesn't matter. Reid can just pass the turn and say you're dead to your own vortex. Reid takes 4, goes to 16, takes 2, goes to 14. Doesn't even have to attack, and Lou will die to his own card. But he'll, attack first. There you go.
Also, Magic players in Standard Steel, your round.
Not necessary, Lou. Not necessary.
Well,
Again, players in Standard
it
Steel,
may
round
be that he
1.
wanted to show him that card to change the reanimation targets that Reid chooses in games 2 and 3.
I don't like that at all. That sulfuric vortex is actually a potential weapon against a player like Reid Duke. If, for example, Reid Duke gets a Gristlebrand out, the Gristlebrand can't gain the life right away, and that's an 8 life investment with Reanimate. But sometimes you'll do that when you're playing against a deck that's aggressive, just because you can say to yourself, I'll gain this back right away, no big deal. You're not even paying the life I'm talking about for the drawing. I'm just talking about having the Gristlebrand, being a target.
Mm-hmm.
And then if a sulfuric vortex hits play, well, now you might not even be able to reanimate. You might have to let that Gristlebrand sit in the yard because, sure, you discarded it to your careful study, but now it's not even worth having put there. You could have put something else there that might have made you have a little bit better stuff going on. Now you're going to expect here Echoing Truth now from Reid Duke.
Now, do you think he goes the show and tell route? He does have 2 show and tell in his board to try and kind of change that up. He has access to another Blazing Archon and an Elish Norn.
Usually in a vacuum, show and tell is a card that you often see because Graveyard Hate is so ubiquitous that you can presume that your opponent will have some sort of hate, and show and tell is a dodge.
And Lou does have that. He has 3 Relic of Progenitus. He also has 2 Pyroblasts and 2 Red Elemental Blasts. 3 Smash to Smithereens, 2 Volcanic Fallout, and 1 Fairy Macabre.
Which is an awesome potential surprise.
I really like the Fairy. But any of these cards that he brings in, going to game 2 on the play, he may just want to keep his deck tuned the way that he had it at the beginning, which is, I'm going to punch you in the mouth as hard and as fast as I can, and hopefully you'll fall over at some point. If he's playing Answers, I think he's playing into Reid's hand.
I think one of the problems is Burn is simply not fast enough to be able to play that way. The Reanimator deck is so fast that if Burn tries to go into a pure race, the Reanimator deck will win the pure race. So you have to step away from your initial plan, be a little bit less of the deck you were, and become something new in order just to have a shot. I mean, it's sort of like this. If we go to the classic Mike Flores article, Who's the Beatdown? The example Mike gave in that article, the black beatdown deck playing against the red beatdown deck, the black beatdown deck used to being the beatdown, but simply playing against another deck that does it better, the black deck forced to become a more controlling deck, even though it's not very good at it. In this case, Burn forced to become a more controlling deck, even though it's not very good at it, simply because the basic plan, it's just too slow in this particular matchup. It is not the beatdown here. Reid Duke is the beatdown, and so the Burn deck has to embrace its role as the control deck.
So with that philosophy in place, you'd have to think that...
Say that again?
With that philosophy in place, you'd have to think that the 2 Flame Rifts come out.
It's a really hard call. I mean, what you really want to be doing, you don't want to change yourself too much, but Relic does so much work for you, and you still want to have access to Sulfuric Vortex to keep Reid from escaping.
Mm-hmm.
I think the cards you're going to want to get rid of are 2 Hellspark Elementals as your first, because even though it represents potential 6 damage, it's so much mana to get that 6 damage.
Well, also, if Reid has anything in the way, then it just doesn't happen.
Yeah. Now, the Flame Rift, Reid Duke might be, quote-unquote, the beatdown, but that's a question of the speed with which Reid Duke's deck plays out, not the life total that Lou is going to be doing. Like, Reid is the aggressor here, in essence. In general. In the first game, you'll see Lou trying to race, but generally not able to do so. By way of example, that Thoughtseize that Reid put down, he was happy to put that down. If he was in a more controlling space, that wouldn't have been a card he would have been happy to play.
That 2 life saved him more damage later.
Yeah. Here we go. Lou Stefanovic on the play here.
Mountain
Relic.
So they definitely did come in, and that puts Reid in a tough spot.
He might have a Force of Will. And Reid can also potentially Echoing Truth or potentially Show and Tell in order to get past the Relic. We see a Force of Will tossing a Force of Will. No Relic for Lou.
So Reid obviously sees the Relic as enemy number 1. There's careful study from Reid. Same way he started off last game. Let's see if the cards that he discards are just as impressive.
Griselbrand.
And a Verdant Catacombs.
Lou here apparently faking miracles with his draw.
Well, he does have the 2 Thunderous Wrath that he can hit.
Pardon me, not faking. I forgot about the 2 Wrath. Thank you for reminding me.
But yeah, especially with a deck like Burn, I think that you want to make sure that your opponent is thinking about that. Because if they think that you can randomly hit that 5 damage and then still be able to do something to follow it up, that makes them think about how close they're getting to that burn point. Last game we were talking about how
Vexing Devils, last game.
And this is a situation where I think that Reid should probably just take 4.
Yeah. Vexing Devils as a 4, that in this stage of the game is acceptable to Duke, I think. Oh, no. He lets it sit. Another thing, this Griselbrand likely to be in play here.
Marsh Flats is going to go and get Reid's second land.
If Lou has Fairy Macabre, wow.
Now that is a 1 of out of the board. That would be a pretty impressive place to be. But clearly, Reid deciding to
Exhume. Does it work? Lou, you got any responses? 1 of Fairy Macabre, 1 of Fairy Macabre.
And Exhume is significantly better.
Oh boy.
Than Reanimate.
And much like Tricks of yesteryear, Reanimator is a deck that is capable of doing a rare feat, being the beatdown and the control.
Yep.
That's a really rough place to be as the opponent of a deck that can grab both roles at once.
Now, Reid can't really block the Vexing Devil because all it takes is a Lightning Bolt to take down, to trade for Griselbrand, and Lou will happily 2 for 1 to take that down.
I might just block, honestly. I mean, gain the life, force Lou to turn the burn spells to Griselbrand, and then spend that life back. There you go. You don't really care if you lose that if you refill your hand. And Reid now, lifelink, gains the life. 7 life. He says, got the kill. And he can draw 7 if he'd like to try to stop it.
Yeah.
Back down to 18.
Now, if I were Lou, I would have had that come at the Griselbrand ahead of time. once the block was declared, but before Reid had gained the life. Push him down to 11.
And we can see Nathan Holtz joining in the conversation at the hashtag SCGMA. You know him from Walk the Plains, and here he is excited seeing Reid Duke with his giant reanimating demons. Lou Stefanovic, successful in killing the Gristlebrand, but perhaps not so excited about untapping Reid Duke with, 12, 11 cards in hand? Some absurd number.
This is Exhume number 2. Yep.
Gristle.
So I guess that Vexing Devil can come back.
Reid will do that block all day.
And Lou may need to give him another opportunity because...
Discard by Reid Duke, down to 7 cards.
Polluted Deltas and the pair of Exhumes. Exhume just so powerful.
For those
Lou's
of you
looking at his cards, trying to figure out how do I ever deal 18, and then he blocks, 25.
right? And again, Lou in the unhappy position to have to think about shooting Gristlebrand once more. And Reid, I'll draw 7. Let's see if anything makes me care.
Dropping back down to 18, and he's perfectly happy to do that.
Now,
That's a pretty safe place to be.
Gristlebrand casting a bizarro contract from below here. And that's fine. I think I found another way to get that Gristlebrand back.
Lava Spike.
Oh boy. Down to 15, 1 card in hand. And
I'd
Lou
say
Stefanovic.
not getting there.
I think we're going to see it in... Oh, Brainstorm, end of turn. Now, this is obviously not an optimal Brainstorm, but you know what? When you have that many cards in hand, you don't need to be optimal. Reid just using his mana optimally. He doesn't care so much that his Brainstorm is slightly less good than normal. And if he has an Entomb in his hand, he can return it to being awesome, but he doesn't really need to. This is just efficient mana use is all it is.
Yep. May not look like it, but Reid way ahead. Board looks pretty clear, looks pretty balanced, but Exhume number 3 is going to make it unbalanced yet again.
Hey, I remember this game.
Now, at some point, I would expect Vexing Devil as it enters the battlefield, correct?
That's correct.
At some point, I would have expected Reid to just take the 4
I think
and stop this
I think
trading with Grizzlebrand for Vexing Devil.
No, I think Reid is just fine with this. Lou is running out of cards every time he does it. and Reid is just becoming more and more absurd with the way his graveyard looks and the way his hand is sculpted. Keldon Marauders. Oh boy. Go to 14, and I think Lou is saying go here, which means that Reid is in just fine shape here. Entomb. Hellish Norn, perhaps? Sphinx of the Steel Wind. There we are, Sphinx of the Steel Wind.
Because overkill is never enough.
And we see a draw. Okay. Reanimate. Sphinx.
Now that's interesting.
And with Gristlebrand.
That does, I guess with 1 card in hand, it doesn't open him up.
Yep.
I would have gotten in with the Gristlebrand before doing that, just to keep from dropping to 6 for the moment. I'd rather go high and then come back down to 13.
Yep, I can understand that.
But with only 1 card in hand for Lou, It's not that relevant.
Reid, a healthy life total. Relic, way too late. Hey, get rid of one of your cards.
I'll get rid of that one.
Go ahead. How about we get rid of all of them?
And you'll note that he's doing that on Reid's turn in case he can hit a Thunderous Wrath. It'll still be the first card drawn.
Okay, it looks like that was actually on his own turn. And now we've got the kill. There we go. Reid Duke pretty easily vanquishing Burn there. This is a very rough matchup for Burn. Even
too many creatures that say lifelink.
Yeah. And Reid Duke particularly going all in on Gristlebrand for Gristlebrand.
Yep.
It's kind of an unsurprising result.